You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Another episode of the Red Moon Podcast, live every single Tuesday night right here on all your favorite social media networks. That's right, we're on Rumble. We started last week, and we're back on there again this week. That's right, and YouTube, and Facebook, and X, and all of them. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host, Sean Sebastian, and... What's he doing over there?
Nobody knows.
What's he up to? I think he's looking. He's over there peeking.
Looking.
He's peeking at all them Oscar noms.
Looking for love in all the wrong places.
Who sings that?
I don't remember. Some old country music singer.
It sounds like a country song.
It is. I mean, I know the song. I just don't know. Here, I'll Google
even
it.
if I didn't know
I'm going to Google it right now.
I'm just saying it sounds like a country song. It's just stereotypical. Boom, it hits.
Well, it is.
That coffee just hitting right.
It's just
so good. That's right. Now Keith's looking that up right now to find out what is it.
Johnny Lee.
Oh yeah,
looking for love.
Johnny.
Johnny
Looking
Lee.
for love and all. That's why I didn't know it.
That's it. Johnny's over there slapping his knee and strumming his guitar, singing a good tune.
I'm gonna say he was a one-hit wonder because while I know the song, I don't know. I could be wrong. Someone's probably gonna be like, "He was amazing." Well, I'm sorry, I don't know him.
Richie Valens was a one-hit wonder when he got. Never mind. I ain't gonna go there. It's a great song. It's worth it. Maybe there's other songs. I don't know it. I don't know more than Johnny Lee there. But Oscar noms are out. That's right.
They are.
We, of course, are going to talk about those. We just go through. We're not gonna exhaust a conversation on the noms because, of course, as we do every year, we have our picks the week before the show.
Yeah, we don't have them yet.
We don't
it's too
have them
early.
yet.
Too
That's
early.
Right. We got plenty to see. We've already seen a handful, 4
We've
out of the
seen 4
9?
out of the 10.
10. They actually did hit 10.
So
this
they
year.
did. We've seen 4 and have access to like 5 others. So I think we'll be okay.
We're gonna watch all the Best Picture noms.
Yeah,
as we do every year. We're gonna review them.
Yeah,
we're gonna watch plenty of the other ones that kind of weighed in the other categories, whether actor, actress. There's some that we'll talk about some snubs, supposed snubs.
I do want to say
go ahead.
I actually appreciate this year that for the most part, watching all the Best Picture winners covers most of the acting noms. There's like 2 other movies, but like I know a lot of years, like especially with like the female acting categories, where they're all from movies that
obscure and nobody's gonna watch,
aren't nominated for anything else. So I'm not watching all these other movies just to.
Tar last year was nominated for Best Picture.
It was,
and it had Kate Blanchett's Oscar nominated performance.
Yeah, there was always at least like 1 or 2 nominees that were also Best Picture noms, but a lot of like especially supporting actors came from like other random movies.
I don't want to get. We're gonna dive into it obviously in headlines, but I'll just say
headlines.
Weak year. Very weak year.
I mean, they all have been.
Yeah,
they have been. But just very weak year. Nothing
one.
that just surprised me, but also nothing that I was just like...
Nothing that really amazes me.
None.
In fact, there's other movies not nominated that I like more than the ones that are. So
Agreed.
Yeah.
So we'll dive into that. But the other big news on the block that we're going to talk about, too, the title of our show tonight, Alec Baldwin indicted again by a grand jury.
Yeah.
Is he going to escape this time?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that, too.
He's gonna dodge a bullet.
Oh,
Good joke.
Yeah.
Good dad joke.
yeah, Ali Bald. Good old Ali Bald.
Well, maybe we should just pull the trigger on this show here and get it
started. What did we review this week? I forgot already.
Well,
no, I remember that. Actually, I'll be honest. I legit for those few seconds did forget.
it was snubbed. Obviously, it should have been nominated.
But for that brief few seconds, I honestly had completely blanked on what it was. But yeah, we reviewed a movie. I remember now.
A movie
that was small, independent, right in the midst of award season.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And
Ariana DeBois.
DeBose.
She's
DeBose.
How do you say it? DeBois?
I've heard DeBose and DeBois, and I'm not sure which it's supposed to be.
I like
DeBoise.
DeBoise.
DeBoise, Idaho.
DeBossy. DeBoss. She's DeBossy.
Debauchery.
Ariana DeBois.
Yeah, because she was the boss in this movie.
Yeah.
I was going to say it had Academy Award-winning actress Ariana DeBois.
Yeah.
DeBossy.
Did she win? Did she win
She
the
won,
Oscar?
yeah,
for
she won. West Side Story. West Side, yeah.
West Side.
West
Yeah,
Side.
that's right.
And I just think it's funny that she went from Oscar winning to this.
Yeah. Let's just get into it. Here's our review of, one of the only movies that was
We could have done
fresh.
Mean Girls.
Yeah, and honestly, I've heard good things about it. Because it was
I've heard mediocre
the play,
things about it, but
the Broadway play that was turned into a musical from the original film that now went to the screen to repopularize it.
I know.
But apparently it was fun. It was good. I don't know. I just think it's Tina Fey.
It did make money, and it
buck.
did come in number one, but it didn't make a ton of money. I mean, it was low budget to begin with.
Honestly, I don't know. I think they tried to heavily promote it. I think it's a flop. I don't know how much they spent on it.
I think they spent 30, and they're sitting at like 50 right now. So it might break even, basically.
Man, $30 million on a musical.
Yeah.
Yep.
They spent $13 million on I.S.S. It's only made 3 so far.
The movie we're reviewing.
When you flop on a $13 million budget, you know you're bad.
I was gonna say y'all need to go talk to Jordan Peele and talk to Blumhouse.
Yeah.
Y'all need to learn how to make some low budget film. Because we'll get into it.
Just play the review.
Here's our review of I.S.S.
Well, we are still feeling those first quarter Hollywood blues. Box office revenue is low, with even those films coming in first bringing in paltry sums. With that, we look again to the smaller and independent releases. With award season upon us, there's no shortage of independent flicks vying for attention. One such film, which premiered last June at the Tribeca Film Festival, starring Oscar-winning actress Ariana DeBose, has just now gotten its theatrical release. And after viewing it, it's clear why it took 6 months to hit national theaters. Directed by Gabriella Cowperthwaite and written by Nick Schaefer, I.S.S. is a film about, the I.S.S., or International Space Station for those who may not know. Its premise centers around a nuclear war breaking out on Earth between America and Russia, while a crew of American astronauts and Russian cosmonauts are currently living and working aboard the I.S.S. When war breaks out down below, both sides sends a message to their respective crews aboard the station to take control of the ISS by any means necessary. What ensues is meant to be a suspenseful thriller of crewmates who are supposed to be like family turning against one another. Trapped in a claustrophobic environment, with contact and support from Earth cut off as the ISS faces orbital decay without intervention from the space agencies on Earth, the members don't know who they can and can't trust, and the film is set up with an interesting premise that completely falls apart. I.S.S. is a fairly straightforward suspense film without any suspense. While the idea of a nuclear war breaking out and cutting the ISS off from any communication, leaving them alone in space to fend for themselves, is certainly interesting, the film does nothing with this premise, using it to pit the scientists against each other on orders that don't make a lot of sense, considering the ISS is a civilian manned station, not under military control. One wonders if such orders would really be given. Though if one accepts both governments would want to maintain control of the station and could convince civilian scientists to turn on one another, the premise would still lend itself to some decent suspense and drama. Sadly, this is not the case. The film is predictable throughout its tired run, from overtly obvious foreshadowing executed in the most unimaginative ways possible, to a dull cast of characters who are generic archetypes never given enough development or real personalities to care about. DeBose as the lead gives an acceptable performance, but nothing that screams former Oscar winner, and any one actor in this film, including her, could easily be replaced. I.S.S. is a film looking for a simple premise to pit survivors against each other a la Lord of the Flies. It's the exact opposite of last week's Society of the Snow in its attempt at showing the breakdown of societal norms when faced with a life or death situation. But these themes have been explored 1,000 times before in much better ways, including in the backdrop of outer space. I.S.S. isn't completely abysmal, as for a low-budget indie film made for $13 million, its set pieces and effects are decent. But it is the worst kind of mediocre, a film that will bore you at best and becomes laughable at worst. Barely scraping in $3 million its opening weekend, it's safe to say I.S.S. hasn't just fallen from orbit, it never made it into orbit to begin with. I give I.S.S. 1.5 out of 4 stars.
Ooh.
I.S.S. was A.S.S.
A.S.S. That's right.
That was good.
Dude,
that was good.
Moonfall was better than this movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know if I can go that
No,
far.
I agree. It was more entertaining. It may
okay.
not be better made, but it was more entertaining.
but definitely not better. It was on par.
Not better made.
Well, here's the thing.
I guess, maybe.
I got confession. I've got a confession.
You give that confession.
So
Confessional.
I had to go see this separately from you all because I had to work late last week when we originally scheduled
Yeah, I know.
to see this.
You ditched us again.
I know. I'm a pansy. I'm a loser. So what I ended up doing, I went on Sunday after you recorded the review, but I made sure not to listen.
He didn't listen. All right.
Could not hear.
I tried to yell out my score, but he kept cranking the office up.
Based on your all's like text before I went and saw this film, I'm sitting here thinking, all right, maybe it is actually pretty decent. It's kind of a surprise. But see, and then knowing you all, I'm like, that's a red herring.
Yeah,
you know, they're trying to throw me off.
You never know.
Yeah.
So of course,
Nobody knows.
I go in not really knowing what to expect. But I had to work late Friday. Then I had a work day at church on Saturday. Then I had to come home, get changed, and go into work for Saturday. I was tired, dead tired. And then I had to get up for church early on Sunday. All of this to say that I went into this. It's a dark theater. There were 2 other people who were there to view this movie. And throughout the first 20, 25 minutes, I kept dozing off. And I'm just being honest that
It was boring, yeah.
it was boring and dry. I could not get emotionally attached. And I still tried to give it the benefit of the doubt because I thought you all really enjoyed it. So I was going to give it 2.5 stars originally. And then when I realized that you all hated it and y'all were pulling my chain, and then I realized, like, okay, I didn't miss nothing. I'm not dreaming this. I was tired as hell. And
He's like, I fell asleep and thought I missed all the good parts.
Yes.
So I was gonna give it.
So when you
I was
all
gonna give it a better score.
You all snapped me back to reality and made me realize, no, it was just a bad movie. And of course, the more I stew on it, and when you all were texting me and telling me your all's thoughts and opinions on it, and then like, oh yeah, after I came home, and of course I edited the review, and I'm just like, yeah, this movie was garbage. I still ended up giving it for the benefit of the doubt. I didn't come down quite as harsh. I gave it 2 out of 4 stars. But a very, very mediocre average. I would very much. This is not a movie I'm going to revisit. This is not a movie that is worth watching.
I'll never watch it again.
It really is worth it to just pass this one up entirely. It's boring, not original, as you say in the review. The characters themselves are just archetypes. They have no emotional feeling whatsoever. What little they tried to add, and even in their camaraderie, is just so piss poor done. And nothing you haven't short of what
Don't
you've
even have
seen.
anything like any personal like storyline, nothing. Like even
it's all milquetoast.
So the most they try to get into any type of personal lives that might give you like some type of connection to the characters were only 2 instances. One was like I don't know the character's name. I keep calling him Bob. He's the astronaut with the mustache.
Commander Bob.
Yeah, Bob.
Is it Commander Bob?
They give Bob a romantic storyline halfway through the movie out of nowhere to be like, oh, see, they were emotionally connected, and that fell flat. And then they also have like this whole background conversation with Ariana DeBose or whatever, where they're discussing
Gordon Barrett.
Gordon. No, he's Bob.
Bob. Bob better.
When I think Gordon, I think of
Commander Bob.
I think of Batman, and I think of
Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah, and I think
There
of
you go.
Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
That's who I think of. So. He's not Gordon. Anyways, but then the other like type of personal thing was Ariana DeBose, where the only point to it was, I'm dating a woman, not a man. Get it right.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's her whole depth of storyline is she has a girlfriend back home. That was it. I was like,
That's why her story was so powerful.
Yeah.
and I didn't care about any of these people. But then Sean also brought up a good point that I've actually seen other.
Really?
Yeah. Actually,
Thanks.
yeah. No,
Sometimes.
sometimes. No, he brought up a good point in like right after the movie that actually I've seen multiple reviews comment on is the fact that the ISS is a civilian manned station. It's not under like any type of military control.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, it is government, but it's a joint government meant to be civilian scientists for that kind of exact reason, so that if things break out, you don't immediately have things breaking out there too. So it's like, would there even ever be commands that would at some point?
Honestly,
maybe,
you know what?
maybe,
No.
but,
What would happen is they'd say, "Hey guys, we're bombing each other to hell down here. Good luck."
Yeah,
That's exactly
yes.
right.
That's all
And
they would say.
That would have been a better movie.
And then like that would be a better movie.
If it would have been contact, this is our last transmission. We're going DEFCON whatever, and internet and all of this is shutting down, and you're on your own. That would have been a better movie if these two had to
band
coincide,
together. Figure out how to survive.
If they had to coexist together and figure out how to survive, or even, which was the other ridiculous part of the movie, was going back to Earth. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, number one, where are you going to land? Right. The only images of the Earth that you've shown after the bombs,
on fire.
the Earth looks like the sun. It's on fire. Where are you going to land? And how is even? I mean,
who's going to rescue you when you do land?
That's the other
ocean?
thing. Those things land by guidance that is received from the ground. So if that's out, then how are you going to land? And then where are you going to land in America, or are you going to land in Russia?
Actually, that's actually what someone was saying online.
You're wrong.
Is ideally the best thing they could do was try to escape, and if they would land, they would hope to try to land somewhere like New Zealand that's far enough away that maybe
you
they're
all
not.
are both wrong.
They can't decide where they want to land
in the ocean, and we get ISS 2.
Yeah,
Dreams
come
true.
true.
Survive in
That's
the
it.
ocean.
You get the ISS sunk to the bottom next to the Titanic, and Explorer 1 or whatever it was called.
Oh man.
I'm just.
What did you end up giving it?
Me? 1.5.
Okay, same thing.
No, I just couldn't. I couldn't wrap my head around some of the nonsense of the story. I was, again, when the trailer came out, I immediately thought, okay, you've got these people floating in a tin can in space, and the Earth just goes to hell in a handbasket. And it's like, what are they going to do? I didn't see, because there's multiple trailers for the movie. I know there's a trailer later that shows them receive their orders from the ground to take the ISS. But originally, I didn't think that was part of the premise at all. I thought it was literally
just them
what would you
surviving
do
up there,
if you were up there and a war broke out and you can't come home?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you're only able to survive up there for a certain amount of time.
A way better premise.
Yeah. Or even if it came down to just the survival aspect of it, and you want to have them start to become paranoid and kill each other because we're running out of food or there's not enough oxygen
that
for
would make
6
more
people.
sense than...
So we get it down to 2 people, we'll survive longer.
Well, and even
that makes more
like
sense.
Lord of the Flies.
I was gonna say, you mentioned that in the review, and I was like, and if you're trying to do that with the space backdrop, like, one, why are you even trying to touch that story that is done way better on a desert island than it is up there in the ISS? And let alone, I hated the like, I don't want to spoil anything. I'm going to try not to give it away, but I'm sort of spoiler alert. Okay,
Spoils.
Sorta going to give a little bit away. I didn't like the cliche ending. Of course, this whole thing is supposed to be timely with all the the angst and the tension between Russia and America, and so you have this this supposed to be kind of a not allegory, but in a way, I guess it is.
No, it was clear because I agree. I was talking about that to Sean.
The whole idea of, you still have these individuals who will still pull together, and you have decent people on both sides, and it was clear cut which direction this was headed from the get go. You're going to have those who are willing to pull the trigger first or pull the rug out from the other. You have the one self-centered person who's immediately going to be all about, I've got kids down there and I've got to save them, and that's who I'm worried about. And then you've got the innocent ones who are just like caught in the in between, and they end up being good old Bob,
Commander Bob,
I mean, Bob.
who's you think he's dead, but then they bring him back just to kill him 5 minutes later.
Okay, yeah.
Now we're definitely going into spoilers.
Sorry,
We said it.
I'm sorry.
we did announce spoiler alert.
I don't want anybody to go see this
Don't
movie.
go see it. It's bad.
No,
It's not worth.
like, don't go see it.
The one positive, it was an hour and a half. It was very short.
Yeah.
But for the first 40 minutes, it's completely boring.
Yeah.
I didn't
don't
care.
even understand what I'm sorry.
No.
No, finish
Go
your
ahead.
thought. I shouldn't have interrupted. Go ahead.
Honestly, not only was it completely boring, I just really felt like the editing was terrible. I don't like, for instance, that part where Bob comes back. Commander Bob comes flying back in, and I'm like, okay, it's supposed to be kind of this heroic scene of, oh, he returns, he's not dead. But it's like we already knew he was somewhat getting saved. We just didn't know when he was going to appear, and then when he does, it's just so jarring. So many times that the tension's supposed to build, that it really doesn't. It either falls flat or it's something cliche that you've seen a million times before in other movies, and there's nothing interestingly done about it. So I don't know. The more I talk about it, I'm slipping down to 1.5. But Sean, continue.
I kind of forgot what I was going to say.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
I rambled
interrupted
too
you.
much.
Oh, the what's her name?
Ariana
DeBossi.
Her character, when she actually gets up there, I felt like was so awkward. I don't know if I'm the only one that felt that way, but
I think
she literally there was like a weird tension. Everybody's trying to show her around, and she's very standoffish and doesn't like want their help.
No, that definitely I think was intentional. Like,
but
she's supposed
again,
to be this mistrust. She doesn't trust anybody.
Well, then what the hell did you join NASA for?
Yeah, why are you going
up to be in a capsule with a bunch of people you don't know if you don't trust people?
Because that's her job, Sean.
You should have picked a different job.
I was going to say, if you're going into that kind of line of work, you think before you're, thousands of miles above the Earth's atmosphere.
But this movie taught her to trust people because someone on the opposite side ended up being an ally.
That's it. That was what we needed to be told.
We need to not be mistrustful of each other and work together.
Yeah,
Russia and America.
Like
one world united.
Like an ally, like a friend, or an ally, like an ally.
An ally.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
Okay.
We needed someone to fight and fend for that that misunderstood group of people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. You got to hit all the intersexual categories you can, and doesn't matter if it's an hour and a half. You got to hit it somehow.
I kind of feel like the only reason she was even there, not in the movie, but like the only reason she would have even been sent up there is for DEI. Yeah, because it's like she gets there, and she's gonna play with mice while she's up there. But she doesn't know how to work a toilet. She doesn't know how to where to sleep. She doesn't know how to zip up her freaking sleeping bag.
I was going to say,
she doesn't know how to do anything.
None of this. Yeah, exactly.
She should not be in space.
Yeah, it seemed like, honestly, it was like a student that they were just like, hey, by the way, you want a chance for a lifetime? Congratulations. You want a trip to the I.S.S.
Yeah.
And then she's just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I've never been in space, but I'll go.
Yeah.
And then,
they never explain why the mice bite each other's arms and legs off either.
Because they can't hold on to anything. He did explain that. They get agitated because they can't. That's why he put the little net so that they can hold on to the net.
How do they hold on to the net when they bit their arms and legs off?
Well, not all of them bit all the arms and legs off.
There
Some
were
of them
two
had.
left.
Oh, okay.
And the two left symbolized the two left at the end.
Yep.
And then, of course, the one guy
See, this
says,
movie's deep. We just discovered it.
Wow.
We just figured it out.
I'm giving it 3 stars now.
Oh, 4 out of 4. Screw that it came out this year. We need this to be nominated for this year's Oscars. That's right.
I agree.
Wow.
I'm done. It's
one
it
and
was
a
a bad
one and a
movie.
half out of 4 stars. For
It was.
ISS.
It was a disappointment because I was really actually after the trailer I was looking forward to that. And here's another thing that scares me because you got this other movie, this Civil War movie that's coming out.
Yep.
and that one I thought looked intriguing also by the trailer, but now this movie has made me not trust.
Just the premise.
I'm like, oh, this is gonna. They're just gonna take this Civil War thing, and it's gonna be completely unbelievable and ridiculous.
Oh, of course. I mean, well, because that's the problem.
It's gonna be I.S.S.
And this is what we can what we can kind of dive into a little bit with regard to the Oscar noms and just the fact that the years that we've had in the past, the recent past, the last 4 or 5 years, honestly, maybe the last decade of just weak nominations because there is no nuance anymore. There is nobody. All these people who want to clamor about being outspoken and talking about these, deep, decisive issues, there's no depth to them because it's like, oh, no, we at least cover that category. And instead of it being either something that's overtly on a political topic and just bashes you over the head with it and with their own opinion because they can't even be coy about it anymore, or it's so loosely tied in there that it's like, why'd you even bring this up at all? But just like even her sexuality in this, like there's no reason to bring it up other than just to say,
purpose to the
hey,
plot.
we got a black female pilot of the ISS
I believe
that is
Latina.
lesbian.
I believe
what?
she's Latina.
Oh,
It's the
sorry.
West Side Story.
Whoops. Brown.
Gosh.
But yeah,
like Nikki Haley.
Oh, hey! She lost New
I
Hampshire.
I couldn't help it.
yeah.
Just news broke. I just wanted to get that headline out there if you weren't paying attention to politics. But no, let's go ahead and I guess dive into our headlines. We're going to be talking about, of course, Alec Baldwin.
I do want to say before we do that, one of our viewers sounds a little upset that we're talking about Alec Baldwin again. So
really,
yeah, it's kind of
Here's the thing.
No, we don't think he woke up in the morning and decided, I think I'm gonna accidentally kill somebody today.
We don't know. We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know that about Alec Baldwin.
But the justice system seems to think that maybe
Look,
there's something there.
We would not be talking about Alec Baldwin if
he wasn't
a grand
back in the
jury
news.
didn't indict him again.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what they find ridiculous is because this person specifically thinks it was just an accident and it's ridiculous for him to keep being indicted.
Let's talk about it.
But yeah, I definitely have opinions in that regard too.
And that's our big headline of the night. So let's roll that headline open and we'll get right into it. Keith, your mannerisms always...
I have fun.
they always get me. I never know what's going to happen.
You never know what's going to happen. I don't want to go there. I was gonna. It would be bad and disrespectful. I don't want to be. I was gonna say like Elena Hutchins didn't know what was going to happen to her, but
Gosh.
Well,
okay.
I had to go ahead and just put it out there. I couldn't leave people hanging.
You don't leave them hanging.
Well,
you just leave them shot in cold blood. Yeah.
Again, this is not. I'm not trying to make light of what happened to her at her expense. I'm just trying to say that Alec Baldwin's
the fact that this has been drawn out as long as it has, the fact that we have viewers who are just like, really, we're talking about Alec Baldwin again?
Yeah,
he's indicted.
Well, I think that's what, and I think that is something that plays in his favor. Is like now you got people who are sick of it that are just like, just let him off. It was an accident.
Yeah,
because they're so sick of hearing it.
Can we stop talking about Trump every time he gets indicted?
I was going to say it's funny because every time you turn around, that is in the news.
That is in the news.
This doesn't cover movie news, so we don't ever bring that up. But of course, when it's Alec Baldwin, and the fact that here's the thing, he was not indicted before. People don't understand this. The prosecution brought forth a case that they then were they retracted because they didn't believe that they had enough evidence going forward to convict him. So they withdrew, and once they withdrew, and this was back in I think March or April of last year, I forget. The article we have linked in the description below will describe the story in details. But ultimately, when they retracted their initial prosecution, I don't know the legal term for it, but ultimately what ended up happening was it seemed as if this was exactly what we feared. There was no justice that was going to be brought to Alec Baldwin having killed somebody. That he was not going to get charged.
Intentionally or not. It's involuntary manslaughter.
And that's exactly
still a crime.
what he's being indicted on. He's being indicted on involuntary manslaughter. They believe now there was a video that was released in November that started circling around, and it showcased a video of Alec Baldwin on set, and they said that this is damning and it's also promising for him. It could be a good thing for the defense in his case, or it could be a bad thing for him and a victory for the prosecution. And in the video, it clearly shows Alec Baldwin aiming the gun, and he is simply telling people, hey, you all need to get out of the way because I don't want you in front of where I'm going to shoot this. And so it basically showcases, if he knew, if he was practicing gun safety and he was taking care of the situation. I'm getting there. So basically, they're on the prosecution or on the defense side, they're saying, see, this clearly shows he knew the gun safety. He knew he was practicing gun safety on set. He was very aware of what could be a dangerous situation, and he was trying to tell people to stay clear. The prosecution is arguing, yes, he's demonstrating he knew what to do, but that also showcases his failure to be even more vigilant about checking the barrel of the gun or even checking the it's a 6-shooter, so it was a revolver. But being able to look down and see if there was anything in there where, and their defense now, or I'm sorry, their prosecution now is that this is not the first time he shot a weapon on film, on screen.
He should already know those.
He should know these things from many of the past times that he has been on set with weapons. He knows how to handle them. So this demonstrates that while he knew what the gun safety rules and regulations were, he was still negligent, and he still fired and unintentionally killed two people. Or killed one person and injured another.
I do want to say, because I saw another comment in the movie talk group we're a part of that gave me just in response to, I think, why I do believe he deserves to be indicted and ultimately charged is because someone had mentioned, it's like, how come, Alec Baldwin, it's a big deal and, it's not just an accident, everybody wants him to be indicted, yet, the guy that shot Brandon Lee on The Crow, nothing ever happened to him, and that was completely written off as an accident. It's like, because while they're similar scenarios, the circumstances were completely different. Like, they literally shot with a faulty blank. They followed all the protocols that existed at that time. They, in fact, changed the protocols specifically because of that incident. And they found that it was a blank that had, like, shrapnel that wasn't supposed to. They checked. They didn't know. They shot it. It shot the shrapnel, killed Brandon Lee. But it was a complete freak accident where the standards of the time were followed, which is a little bit different. The laws and rules have changed now because of that incident. They're more stringent. These new more stringent rules were not followed as far as we know from based on, we don't, I guess, can't say for sure, but based on the evidence we know, it seems like they were not followed. And in that case, if he did not properly check the gun as he was supposed to and still fired it, that makes him culpable.
Right. Well, I think another damning thing would be the fact that you have federal investigators that checked the weapon and have said it's impossible for this gun to go off if it was dropped. Mm-hmm. It's impossible for the gun to go off unless the trigger was pulled. And to this day, he still denies ever pulling the trigger. So there's some truth that's not being told. You have a lot of evidence. I think the people in the FBI that do these kind of investigations and tests and have studied this for decades, like, they know the weapon better than Alec Baldwin does, and they know that he had to have pulled the trigger, but he's still lying and saying that he didn't.
Right.
And that's one of the issues that if you're lying about it, then there's guilt. You don't lie when you don't, unless you're trying to.
No one knows more than Alec Baldwin.
That's well,
the thing is, he's trying not to perjure himself, but at the same time, it's like this is the problem that we have, and this is kind of where the double-edged sword of the justice system can benefit / also be held against him, in that because he is a notable figure, he is a celebrity. This could lead to a jury of his peers, rightfully so, convicting him on a manslaughter charge and him doing some time because of it, and then saying, well, because he's a celebrity doesn't mean he should get off scot-free. Or it could be the opposite. It could be, oh, look, no, we know Alec Baldwin because we see all these instances of him out in public and being a generous man. And so, look, the thing is you never know which way the jury is going to sway. And to me, I say let the chips fall where they may. A woman was killed on this set, by his hands. If anything, the prosecution absolutely has the right and is, by due justice, convicting him or indicting him and hopefully going to get a conviction out of a jury of his peers. But for me, the right thing to do would be for Alec Baldwin to step aside and stand trial. If you truly think you're innocent and you truly think that they will understand your pleas and your side of the story, then stand trial. And I think that's the most irritating thing. So I somewhat agree with our viewer who's disgruntled and mad that we're bringing up this topic again. I don't want to talk about it. Well, and I wouldn't have to. And I'm playing liberal with my words here. But I wouldn't want to talk about this anymore if justice was done more than a year ago. The woman's body has been in the ground for close to 2 years. It has been over 2 years. It was in the fall of 2021 that she got killed.
And it's ridiculous that it has gone on this long. Because
and the only reason I believe it's gone on this long is because it's Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
So you already talk about the prestige of celebrity status and the notoriety of it. That's what it gets you. It gets you the best lawyers and best defense you can. But not just that. It's because you're a high-profile figure that this case is taking its time before it meets the actual court. And so that's where I get a little bit frustrated with people who act like, oh, no, he's not privileged, or, oh, he's not expressing, his celebrity status in this way to take advantage of this whole scenario. He's distraught and he's upset about what happened. BS.
Yeah.
BS. If you truly felt, like you said, Sean, if you didn't feel guilt, then you would stand trial. You would leave it up to a jury of your peers, and you would allow them to convict you or to set you free.
Yeah, you don't have anything to worry about.
Right.
If you didn't do anything.
If you have a
If thou art
guiltless
innocent.
conscience. Absolutely. So all of that to be said, we don't know what's going to happen. Typically when an indictment is handed out, you think that whoever's prosecuting has enough evidence to bring forth to trial to convict you. That's the whole point of them being indicted.
Hopefully the process goes faster now that he has been indicted,
Right.
but
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
So yes, we're more than likely probably going to be talking about this again.
because there's going to be a whole
especially if there are charges that are brought and
say,
he's convicted.
if there's going to be a whole trial now, this is going to be a whole thing. So,
Yep, we'll have to keep following it. So, more on this to come.
Oscars are got their nominees out now.
No, no.
No transition. Just leave Alec
go
in the
right
dust.
to it
Well,
You
of
know.
course,
in the rust.
they finished filming the movie. By the way, they finished that back in May.
Because that's
Well, yeah,
that's
they gotta-
important.
Nobody wants to talk about that.
They
It's
have
like,
to honor
after the charges
Elena
were
Hutchins.
supposedly dropped, even though the prosecution or the state's attorney general, I think, even said this doesn't mean anything. Like we can still bring charges, but they saw it as like, oh, we're in the clear. They went ahead and finished
Well, they
the
said
filming.
they were doing it to honor her.
Oh, of course.
yeah.
Of
You have
course.
to finish the film. That's what she would have wanted.
That's right. That's right. That's what Helena wanted. She doesn't want to be alive. She wants that movie finished. All right, now we can move on. Let's move on to Oscar noms 2024.
I don't want to.
The list is out. We've teased it enough. As we joke every year, it's kind of become a bane of our existence. Having a
used to look forward
podcast about
to
movies.
it.
I did too.
I used to love watching all the Best Picture nominees, and I mean,
when they were worthy.
it was just. I mean, it was one of the things when I got into like just watching movies. I loved it, like seeing some of the best movies made in a year and seeing what got nominated. And now I know that the best movies made in a year aren't going to be nominated, so I don't care.
The other thing I don't like is that, for one, well, it's now pretty much permanently moved to March. It's March 10th this year, but they moved it up an hour. So now they're still going to have a 4-hour broadcast.
Because they know they
they're
can't.
just going to start it at 7 instead.
Oh, gosh.
So it's from 7 to
11.
who knows when.
Yeah, because they know they can't get it done by midnight, so we got to move it up to 7, and
Right.
then they'll still probably go till midnight. So
I mean, the only thing we can ever hope for now is another slap. That's the only thing we all
maybe
look forward to.
Jimmy will get slapped. This Jimmy Kimmel's.
That would
Maybe he'll get
only be
Jimmy.
the. Oh my gosh, that would be a highlight.
It's like if we're slapping hosts, why not him?
That's right. I
Please.
want Aaron Rodgers to run up and slap him.
Oh, that would be amazing.
That would be awesome. Dude, if they got Aaron Rodgers to present.
There would be a lawsuit though.
awesome.
Jimmy Kimmel would drop a lawsuit
yeah.
so fast he wouldn't go the high road that
Chris Rock.
Oh, of course not. He's a whiny. You talk about the whiniest pansy of them all.
I was doing the show, and then Rogers just came up and slapped me, and then he slapped my children and my wife and my mailman.
We all got COVID. Oh gosh, because of Rodgers.
It's like everyone ever important to me. He just slapped them all.
Let's talk about noms. Let's get into some noms. We're gonna start out with best visual effects
Oh man.
because there's actually one in here that I somewhat agree with and I disagree with. There's a few in here. We've seen all of these.
There's a bunch in all of them that I agree and disagree with. So
And we're only going over major categories, but right out of the gate, best visual effects, The Creator, which we reviewed, Godzilla Minus One, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, which apparently they have removed the Part 1 on the official release of the home video version.
I think so. Yeah.
Is that not because they're still doing the Part 2?
They're still doing a part 2, but I think it may have a different title now.
Really?
Yeah.
The 4K Blu-ray that I have.
Does it still say Part 1?
It says Part
Part 1?
Okay,
Yeah.
then maybe not. Maybe it's. I mean, I don't. I know they're still.
I read
they're still
somewhere
making
they're
it.
removing the Part 1 officially. Or they said it changed.
That
Maybe
was-
it's on IMDb.
I know
It's-
Into the Spider-Verse that happened.
Really?
Because it's no longer. It's gonna it has its own the third of it has its own title now. Like it used to be Into the Spider-Verse Part 1 and 2, and they dropped the Part 1 for that because they're gonna Part 3.
Well, that made sense
Now
because
it's
they
across the Spider-Verse now.
Yeah, yeah. I think
is the
so,
second one. That's the second one.
Or yeah.
It's Into the Spider-Verse and then Across the Spider-Verse
Okay,
is
and
the
then
second.
Part 3 was going to be Across the Spider-Verse like Part 2, but now it's going to have
Right.
like another name
Beyond
or
the
whatever.
Spider-Verse.
Yeah,
or
Beyond.
something.
Yeah,
that's
something
But I
like that.
like
don't
that
know.
because they actually revealed that at the end of the movie. They show it.
They show Beyond the
Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
they
yeah.
show
But then
the
it,
title.
like,
Yeah,
it
no, they changed
disappears.
it before
Yeah.
before release.
Anyways, I didn't mean to get off on that
No,
tangent.
no,
I
I
just
just-
thought it was
yeah.
interesting
It
because
is
I'm like,
interesting,
I
yeah.
don't know. I don't know what that means for the next Mission Impossible. That apparently is a continuation of Part 1.
Yeah,
and it ends on a cliffhanger. If you've watched Dead Reckoning,
we just watched it and like within the last month.
Yeah,
and it says Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
As far as best visual effects,
and Napoleon.
It is what it is.
Throw Napoleon in there. I'm going for this category. Here's the thing. I loved Godzilla -1.
Yeah.
We talked about it on the show.
Yeah.
It's visual effects for the type of movie it is. And that sounds bad because now people are like, oh, because you're American and they're Japanese. It's a good movie.
It's a lower budget Godzilla movie.
Yeah. Exactly. For a low budget film in general, I thought it was great.
But it doesn't quite
I don't think
hold
it
up
beats out
against...
The Creator, which I thought was a terrible
movie.
And I also don't think it had great visual effects.
I thought it was pretty good.
To me, of all of these, I'm either going with Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning or Napoleon.
Yeah. No, I agree. I didn't think...
I didn't mean to do this to give our picks.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't want to give my pick. I just feel like that some of those, not that The Creator or Guardians I think were terrible, but I think just the overly laden CGI is starting to become more noticeable now. Yeah. It doesn't blend as well as when they...
Dead Reckoning looks real.
Yeah.
Like it's... I mean, I know he really jumped off of a freaking cliff on a dirt bike and went into a what do they call that,
Riviere.
No,
the suit. The suit. What do they call that?
Like the gliding
suit or whatever. I forget what they call that.
Yeah.
But anyway, he really did that. Now them making it look like he did it without any kind of ramp or wires or anything like that. Yeah, they removed all that stuff. It looks amazing, but I would say that Mission Impossible looks much more visually stunning. Mm-hmm. The helicopter, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The helicopter scene.
Yep. To me, the car chase scene.
Yeah.
And that was actually the weakest part in some aspects.
Yeah. I just think, again, it proves that doing as much as you can practically.
Yeah.
It's funny, too, which, I mean, I get it, but I do think it's funny that for all the talk,
Oppenheimer got
snubbed. Got snubbed, like nothing, because that stuff was done practically.
But it actually goes into our next category, which is production design, and that's where we see Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things.
And I do understand a great many of these, honestly. Like even Barbie, like as far because obviously that was about the only thing about Barbie I did like was the production design.
I think, I'm not again not to give our picks or whatever, but I mean if I had to choose one now, I would say Barbie is probably the one that's going to win that.
Yeah.
I don't really have a problem with any of those. I don't know if there's something I would consider better, but honestly, for most of those, I thought the production design was fine.
Yeah.
Maybe not amazing, but again, like we've said, it's just been
Poor
weak.
Things.
I haven't, but just based on the trailers, it looks like the design looks decent. So.
Yorgos Lanthimos. Yeah. I think I'm butchering his name.
You are.
Everybody does.
You are.
But ultimately,
I can't do better.
I will say Poor Things, Barbie, and Oppenheimer were the largest. I think Oppenheimer topped out at 13. Then I think Poor Things was at 11 noms. And then I forget how many Barbie had, but of course we'll talk about the controversy there and what it didn't get nominated for. But moving on to Best Sound.
Yes.
We have The Creator, Maestro, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, Oppenheimer, and then Zone of Interest.
And again, based on the ones I've seen and what I know of the ones I haven't, those sound reasonable to me so far. I mean,
Best Editing. Again, we're just doing a quick run through. Best Editing: Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. Best Costume Design. Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things.
Seeing a trend here.
Yeah,
it's a trend that does make sense to me, but I'm seeing.
Well, there's certain ones that as soon as the categories were named and I saw what was in it, there's a few that have popped up that I haven't seen, and then others that I'm like Oppenheimer and Barbie.
Yeah, absolutely.
The talk of the town for the whole year, whether it was social, cultural, but also for award season.
Yeah.
But yeah, moving into now, we got Best Makeup and Hairstyling. Golda, which I've not even heard of that. I don't know
that's
what
the one
is.
I told you about the Prime Minister.
Yes. Okay. Yep.
And that's about the only thing that makes sense to me in a way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maestro, Bradley Cooper's nose. Oppenheimer, that A-bomb. I'm just kidding. That was not part of Makeup and
B-bomb.
Who was that? RDJ's comb over.
That's
it.
Yeah. And I have to. I mean, just that hat.
Yeah.
Cillian Murphy's hat.
Oh, yeah.
Poor Things and
The
Society
unibrow.
of the Snow, which oddly enough, I kind of laughed, I snickered, because that was one part we actually kind of knocked a little bit. Not that it was bad.
It wasn't bad,
It
but
just, we
yeah.
felt like it wasn't continuity was off throughout the movie.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of funny that actually got nominated for best makeup.
well,
And
what do we
Which,
know?
granted, here's the thing: continuity made me off, but at the same time,
It looked good. That's all that matters.
Yeah, it looked great.
Yeah.
So that's
It's
all
like
that
it wasn't
matters.
consistent, but it looked good.
That's right. Best original score: American Fiction, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Dysentery.
Because John Williams is 100 years old. That's why.
Why?
That's why.
He's
That is
won.
why.
And it's just, again, this is what the Disney Pixar crap is.
He now holds
Every
the record
time
for like
Disney-
the oldest nominee for best and I'm just like
Who cares? The
Is that
lady
really
from
an accomplishment?
Titanic had to be older. And she lost.
I think she was only in her 80s and he's in his 90s.
No, she was like 98.
Oh, was she? Okay.
Not 98. That's a little far. I want to know. I thought she was in her 90s.
Yeah, I know John Williams is. I don't know exactly.
But look,
year.
it's the glorified, it's
It
John
is.
Williams.
It is.
Yep.
He
It's
gets nominated.
100%. Mm-hmm.
Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, and Poor Things round out the original score. Just a quick aside, I think Oppenheimer takes it. Nothing particular. I'm gonna save my one reservation for the end when we get to the.
Okay.
I have an opinion.
Is this about the score or something else?
Just in general,
okay.
one movie in general.
Okay.
Best original song. I'll run through these because two of them are obviously, I think, the standouts. That are one of them's definitely walking away with it.
Mm-hmm.
But you got The Fire Inside from Flamin' Hot. I don't even know what that is.
Nobody does.
I'm Just Ken from Barbie. Everybody knows that one.
Yep.
It Never Went Away from American Symphony. Don't know what that one is. Waza Wahawawa.
Wajajashe. A song,
A song
for my people.
From Killers of the Flower Moon. I'm sorry we offended you there.
Wazazi.
There you go. And
That might be it.
What was I made for? Billie Eilish, of course, from Barbie. And I think I'm Just Ken or What Was I Made For easily walks away.
I mean,
really think-
honestly, I'm just
What Was I
Ken's the
Made
only one I
For?
care about.
Yeah, but I think Billie Eilish is going to get an Oscar. She just came out this year. She's going to get
I'm
it.
Just Ken won the
So-
Golden Globe, so I agree with you. I think they're going to go for something more serious than that at the Oscars.
Right. Best documentary feature film, we don't care.
Yeah, we don't
Best
need
short,
those.
don't care. Animated feature, here we go. This is fun.
This
The
category,
Boy and the
yeah.
Heron, which we did not review, but Keith and I have seen. Not the best of
It's
the
not
Miyazaki
the best
films.
Miyazaki film, but it might win because it's his magnum opus that he's ending his career on. So
For the fifth time.
yeah,
Elemental, the Disney Pixar movie that has the obligatory you got to nominate it.
yeah.
Nimona,
Netflix
Robot
is,
Dreams, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which I do think will walk away
I feel
with the
like
win.
there
hope
was.
so.
I'm not going to get into it, but I just want to. I do feel like there were several snubs for best animated feature because they went with all the obvious Disney Miyazaki. We gotta do.
What were some of the snubs?
Well, okay.
Just while we're on the topic.
I mentioned like another Japanese film that I thought was better, Suzumi. Then we also have what was the one that somebody mentioned that I agreed with? Well, I mean, there's talk about Mario, which I get why not, but I would put it in there above Elemental or Nimona.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I wasn't the
wow,
most
yeah.
fond of that, but I think that would still have been better
Yeah.
than both Elemental or Nimona. And there was one more that, for the life of me, I'll have to look up that I agreed with, and I can't think of what it is.
I just what you listed there though is proof enough that there was some.
I would say
snubs.
there's three there that I think all would have been better than at least Elements. There was no Disney movie this year that deserved a nom.
Yeah. No, I would agree. Moving on to best original screenplay, we've got Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Maestro, May December, and Past Lives. For best adapted screenplay, you've got American Fiction, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. For best international feature film, I'm going to mention these because we specifically talked about how Godzilla Minus One got snubbed in this category for it to not be nominated.
Yeah.
Its only nom happened to be
The
for
visual
best
effects, yeah.
visual
Visual,
effects. The one that I think will walk away with it is the one that everybody knows, of course, and that's Society of the Snow. And that's from Spain.
Well, you also have the one that actually also has nominated for Best Picture, and that's why I think Society of the Snow would get it too, because it's not nominated for both. But
Right.
And I was trying to pull that. I didn't get to that category, so I was trying to pull it up.
You're talking about the Zone of Interest from the United Kingdom?
That's it. Yeah, that one got, which...
I haven't seen it.
It is technically foreign, but it's funny because British films, I feel like are like just cousins to Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's not that foreign.
Yeah.
Then you've also got, in Best Original or Best International Feature Film, The Teacher's Lounge from Germany, Lo Capitano from Italy, Perfect Days from Japan, and of course, we just said The Zone of Interest, United Kingdom, along with Society of Snow.
Yes.
You've got Best Cinematography, El Conde, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. Best Director, here we go, the top 2 categories. You got Best Director, we got Justin Treat?
I think it is Justine Triet.
Justine Treat. Okay, Anatomy of a Fall.
It's a French film, so yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Justine Triet is a female director, so I believe that is Triet's right.
Martin Scorsese from Killers of the Flower Moon, Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things, and of course Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest.
Yeah.
Interesting enough there, you do not hear what is considered one of the biggest snubs of this year, Miss Greta Gerwig for Barbie.
I honestly don't think that was a snub, but...
Yeah.
We can talk about that in a sec because we also now have our acting categories. Best Actor in a Supporting Role. I'll start with Best Actress in a Supporting Role. Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer. Danielle Brooks for The Color Purple.
Yeah, well.
America Ferrera for Barbie. No. Jodie Foster for Nyad. And Davine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. Best Actor in a Supporting Role. Sterling K. Brown, American Fiction. Robert De Niro, Killers of the Flower Moon. Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer. Ryan Gosling and Barbie. Mark Ruffalo for Poor Things. And Best Actress in a Leading Role. Annette Bening, Nyad. Lily Gladstone, Killers of the Flower Moon. Everybody was happy about that one.
She's going to get it.
Sandra Huller, Anatomy of a Fall. Carey Mulligan, Maestro. And Emma Stone for Poor Things. I actually think Emma Stone's going to pull out the upset. Just throwing that out there. We'll see with SAG. Best Actor in a Leading Role, Bradley Cooper for Maestro, Coleman Domingo for Rustin, Paul Giamatti for Holdovers, Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, and Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction.
It's actually Cillian Murphy.
I'm sorry, Cillian.
Yeah, Cillian.
Whoops, I'm sorry, Cillian. It's like, whose name did we butcher for all those years?
Villeneuve.
Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah,
Dennis Villeneuve.
It's Denis Villeneuve. And we
go
call
back
Dennis
and listen.
Villeneuve.
For at least 300 episodes, we called him Dennis Villeneuve.
We gave him a Hispanic name, and he's French.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
Yeah.
All right, and of course, best
silly white boys.
picture of the year. We have it with these 10 films. American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest.
Yeah.
The one comment I will have, of course, we will have these linked, and you can find them if you just Google Oscar noms.
Nice.
I think Killers of the Flower Moon is easily the most overrated film that has been nominated in all these categories.
100% absolutely.
Martin
Scorsese?
What?
No. Almost everything it was nominated for, I rolled my eyes at. Except for some of the cinematography, maybe. I might give it that.
Sorta.
So, yeah, sorta.
Nothing I hadn't
It was
seen
well
before.
done, but it wasn't, anything
It wasn't
new.
exceptional.
No, I agree with you 100% there. Every time, like Robert De Niro, why is he nominated?
Yeah.
He did nothing spectacular at all in that movie.
He did a better job in The Irishman, and he couldn't even kick anybody. He's so old.
All old, decrepit. Yeah. I just, literally, every time I saw that, I was like, this is honestly just, it's Scorsese. It's about Native Americans. It's De Niro and DiCaprio. So, we just got to give it all the noms because those are all the people that are supposed to be nominated.
That they didn't nominate Leonardo.
Yeah.
Just as his offhanded, he won for Revenant.
I mean, I didn't think he was amazing either, but I mean, heck, he wasn't any worse or better than De Niro, who got one.
Right. I just thought Killers of the Flower Moon, Flowers of the Killer Moon.
Yeah.
I just overall, I mean, we told her our opinions. You can go look up the episode where we officially reviewed it. It's just really mediocre film from Scorsese.
I honestly don't expect it.
Way too long a movie. should have easily just been. I don't think it's going to win anything.
That's what I'm saying.
I think it's noms where it's
the only
winning.
one I thought it would be Lily Gladstone, but I didn't think it would win anything else. So
Yeah,
and
no,
my opinion
and
of that may
yep.
change, like you said, based on how SAG goes. But
And if I see Poor Things, and look, I'm expecting Poor Things to be, it's Yorgos Lanthimos is
I'm
out
very
there
nervous.
director.
Yeah, I'm like maybe it'll be good or maybe it'll be garbage.
It's Hollywood. I mean, I expect some obscure, weird. I mean, it's him. That's him.
Yeah.
I don't know the depth to whether like this is true or not, but I did, and I don't want to spoil anything. I won't say, but I read something about some of the themes of the movie that seemed woke. So I'm like, if that's true, I may not like the movie as much as I was hoping I would.
Surprise!
Yeah, no, I'm not surprised at all. I was just like, dang, it's like we couldn't even we can't have one that doesn't have. Some,
Isn't Willem Dafoe is in that, isn't he?
Yeah, all kinds of people are in that one.
That's just weird because that he's not nominated because I feel like almost everything.
No, Mark
Willem
Ruffalo
Dafoe
was nominated.
Yeah,
instead.
it's like everything he's in. I feel like he gets
some kind of nod.
some kind of nod. Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know.
I feel like he's loved, but I can't really think of much
Fantastic actor.
in recent years that he's really been nominated for. Like
The
fans
Lighthouse
love
was
him.
great.
That was fantastic.
He was great in that.
He was phenomenal in that.
I don't know. Overall, yeah. Look, we could talk about the biggest snub that everybody's talking
It's a
about.
garbage year.
That Greta Gerwig didn't get nominated, or that Margot Robbie wasn't nominated for Best Actress. Keith, your reaction there sums it up, I think, best.
Okay, I liked Lady Bird. I loved Little Women, which is funny as a 30-year-old man. But I thought both of those movies were much better movies made by Greta Gerwig.
I just think of Gimli. Little hairy women.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I really enjoyed both of those movies from her and thought she did a much better job as director. So it's funny that anytime someone does a good job, it's like just like Martin Scorsese, it's like, well, now we just have to give you the obligatory noms. It's like, no, she didn't. It wasn't better than the past performances. She doesn't deserve the nom.
No, I agree. And honestly, I know a lot of people could easily sit there. I mean, it's funny, though, because if you look back at right when Barbie came out, so many people were joking about how it was really a movie about Ken and how standout the Ryan Gosling role was.
Yeah.
And it's so funny to then see it nominated, him as a supporting role actor, and then yet she's snubbed, quote unquote.
Funny, yeah.
And I just think it's funny that I'm like, well, that clearly kind of shows you where most people thought the strength of the film laid.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that Margot Robbie
song
did,
is "I'm Just Ken."
but the thing is, I don't think that she did a bad job. It
No.
just wasn't Oscar worthy. But so many of these roles, so I think the tally is we've seen 4 of the 10 noms so far. None of them. I mean, even the ones that you would think we'd be singing the praises of, like Oppenheimer, don't really care.
Or even like I said,
There's nothing on there that is a standout. To me, the best movies of the year were completely overlooked, and that would have been either, I know Sean disagrees, but either Godzilla -1,
Iron Claw.
Iron Claw
was great.
Better.
completely got overlooked by even just writing or just. I mean, come on,
even Dream Scenario, which I only gave 2.5, I thought is better than a lot of these. So I mean.
I mean, out of the Best Picture noms, like The Holdovers, to me was my favorite movie out of all of them.
So far, out of the ones we've seen and reviewed, I would have to, if I was choosing right now, that would be the one I would want to win. But I mean, and maybe some of the others might surprise me.
I was going to say, now I think back to last year, and Banshees of Inisherin was one that we held off till the very end, and that was a very welcome surprise for all of us. And I think we were very much like caught off guard, like, oh wow, this was a standout movie.
Yeah,
definitely worth the nomination and a good movie. And so there could be some in there.
Well, both of the foreign nominees, Anatomy of a Fall and Zone of Interest,
I'm interested in.
I've read the synopsis for both of those, and both of them I think are interesting, and hopefully probably those are ones that won't win because they actually are decent and probably do deserve to be there, and they're nominated because they're foreign, so like we can give them a nod, but really we got to make sure that the one that has the agenda we want wins. So
and you're right. I think it is interesting that you do have other heavy hitters. that never quite make their way. I mean, kind of going back to your comment about, the British are just our cousins. It's like, they can make their way into the Best Picture category.
Yeah.
But heaven forbid we put Society of the Snow in there.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
we put Godzilla minus one.
Yeah.
Because, these are foreign. Well, that's why we have an international film category. We'll save those for this.
It's like the foreign films that are still in English can be nominated.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
They're not foreign enough. To make the. You got to have.
So I just think that's a little interesting. But yeah, there's nothing. None of these awards were surprises or shocks. Even the snubs we're talking about are kind of like, okay, so what? It's only the elite few in Hollywood that seem to be upset by it. But for the most part, there's nothing here that I'm just like, man, I got to rush out and see this right now. Can't wait to review this one.
Not at all something that I would say would be a typical like best film nominee, but still better. Like I thought was a thoroughly much better movie than a lot of these. Talk to Me, which is a horror film.
Yes.
Fantastic
movie.
Barbarian last year was better than a lot of the nominees. And
That's
of course,
right.
horror movies are always overlooked. Very rarely, only two that have ever really gotten praise, and one I would say is more horror adjacent. The Exorcist, which makes sense, and then of course Silence of the Lambs, which I would say is more horror adjacent, but it gets touted as the like best picture winning horror film. So.
And it's kind of completely forgotten at the end of the year, but Creed 3 was better than a lot of these films.
Yeah, Creed 3
it was a
actually
great
is much
movie,
better.
but can't do that because Jonathan Majors is in it.
Creed 3 I liked,
but it was released early on in the year.
I mean, Mission Impossible is better than I think a lot of them, and I understand like.
They're getting the technical categories.
But, yeah.
As far as snubs from, I mean, we already brought up the best visual or the best animated. You brought up Super Mario Brothers kind of getting a snub.
I would like to figure out the third or fourth.
Yeah, go ahead and look that up because I think John Wick 4 got snubbed for some of either visual effects or sound.
Yeah,
design.
There were a lot of that. Yeah,
where's that? That
have any
nomination.
of those been nominated for technical categories?
Good question. I'm not sure if they have.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And I'm sorry, but
jeez,
the one scene in that movie that comes to mind that I constantly see the overhead shot
with
as
the
they're
dragon's
going.
Breath.
Yes,
this is
amazing. And
was
I mean,
fantastic.
Production design, visual effects. You can't tell me that's not worth a nom in and of itself.
This is not the one I was thinking of, but like looking through and having seen it, I haven't seen the movie itself, but I know it got a lot of praise. Leo from Netflix, the one Adam Sandler voices the pet lizard or whatever. And that got a lot of critical
praise. It wasn't
praise.
bad. I
haven't seen it, but
it's okay.
Okay,
My kids have watched it 1,000 times.
I don't personally know, but I just knew it had a lot of praise, and I wondered maybe if it would have been a better contender. But I mean, I don't know.
Because I'm just glad you brought up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because I forgot about that.
Well,
but I think
visually,
I think the animation style in that actually exceeds that of Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I really thought that had an amazing style.
I agree for the second. Maybe not so much the first, like Into the Spider-Verse, but I do agree that Mutant Mayhem I think had a better animation style than Across the Spider-Verse.
I liked its gritty nature a lot.
Oh yeah,
in terms of it fit the story, and I didn't think it wasn't a bad movie. It wasn't. It was kind of. It's sad because it was. Maybe because of Across the Spider-Verse coming out early in the summer, it was kind of overlooked by the time it came and went. I think maybe a lot of people, hit it up when it was in theaters, but then they just kind of passed afterward, and after a couple weeks, it was gone. Because you were also looking at that was late summer when it came out. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's like there just wasn't. I mean, I was gonna say other than Guardians, this might have been the first year that a superhero film wasn't nominated. But
they had to get one obligatory one in there.
Of course,
so,
we didn't see Transformers get nominated.
Yeah, that's funny, actually.
That didn't get nominated for sound or visual effects. They've just completely written off that series. They've said, rightfully so.
Yeah, at this point,
just rinse and repeat.
It's like it's all the same. Like you're just using the same assets over and over because this movie didn't look any better than any of the other Transformer movies.
Some others that people might say were a snub. The Color Purple did not make it in there. I'm just saying. For people who were touting that, with Spielberg and Oprah backing it up, as producers, that this was going to be a knockout of the park, return to an old classic and recreate it for this modern audience. And it's like, well, audiences didn't show up because it ended up not doing so great at the box office. I don't think it met what its production cost was. If it did, it didn't rise too much above it. And two, it's like it was completely here and gone. People forgot about it.
Trolls 3 was...
Yeah, I haven't seen it. Like I know
it's good.
Yeah,
it's good. But I mean, it just and even Wish didn't get
I was just well.
But that one doesn't surprise me because of how poorly it did and how poorly it was received.
Well, and this is what always kills me.
I'm surprised that Elemental got it over Wish.
I'm surprised that both of those got it over something that even if it was lukewarm, something like Illumination. I mean, whether that was from
Super Mario,
getting some
Illumination,
but
Migration.
Migration was the other one that they came out with
at the very end of the year.
I haven't seen Trolls 3, but I mean, I'm sure it's probably better than Nimona and Elemental. So.
Well, yeah, Trolls 3 has wholesome themes in it, so it's not going to get a nomination.
Just like Sound of Freedom wouldn't. But
well, that was actually something like I'm not saying
I didn't expect that one to get nominated.
No, not at all. But that is what I've seen some people online saying, "Well, why was it snubbed?" And I know obviously why. But
like, when has Hollywood in the last 2 decades been anything on?
I would agree that in a standard year, Sound of Freedom may not, but at the same time, it is. I would agree is better than many of the ones that were nominated.
Well, here, look, and just being completely honest, I was one of my picks of top pictures last year. Mentioned that at the end of our year-ender show. But I'll be completely honest, it wasn't exceptional in any way. It's not what I would uphold as, pinnacle of filmmaking. Not by any means. I mean, that is essentially what you expect from the Oscars and what they nominate. And that's why, and I don't know, maybe we need to do a little breakdown on this show and dive a little deeper on maybe when we get closer to the Oscars of just how many movies we have that have just completely gone by the wayside and been forgotten over the last several years. Like literally listing off the best pictures from the last 5 years, I guarantee you most of us either one, don't remember them or could never care to revisit them.
I mean, I think we should do that definitely, but I think even amongst our viewers and listeners, that's subjective. I mean, I think you're going to have people that are going to be like, "Oh, yeah, I watch Moonlight twice a year," and I'm like, I forgot that even won an Oscar.
Yeah,
but I mean, the only reason I remember it,
that's
the only reason I remember it is because it was supposed to be La La Land. Yeah. But it's like, I think people are going to disagree.
I agree. I think to an extent, but I do think like when you think about movies that are like continuously talked about by like I think the larger majority, like people still like. Mentioned like Forrest Gump, Saving Private Ryan.
Oh yes,
it's like
there hasn't been a movie like that since the 90s.
Like, well, I'm sure there are definitely people that would absolutely defend Moonlight. Like, of course, I watch that every year.
I would even
think
throw
the majority probably doesn't.
I throw in Gladiator.
Yeah,
I throw in Return of the King.
Return of the King.
I mean, No Country for Old Men. I just watched it a few weeks ago.
Yes.
It's a fantastic.
film. I'll go older than that. I mean, I love Driving Miss Daisy.
Well,
which is a great movie.
but I'm talking about even in relative history, like recent history. I mean, that's now 20 years ago. That's a long time considering the fact that you have to go back that far to find a group of movies.
Slumdog Millionaire is more recent. I love that movie. I've watched it more than once.
And I think we're hitting on a point of just how out of touch Hollywood has gotten, which is why I think that's kind of why I want to do like a summation of what has come out in the last recent, few years. And maybe just look at it and analyze and say, all right, well, what are some of the movies we remember that were nominated? Which ones were completely just off the radar and we don't care about? I mean, there have been several of those in the last few years where at least it used to be that you had a batch of really good nominations that you wouldn't watch them all at least a second time. But there hasn't been that for I honestly think since we started doing the podcast. So we'll do that. We'll do a deeper dive in the weeks to come, leading up to the Oscars.
On the show briefly, like looking at past winners, but maybe
we need a brainstorm. Get together, brainstorm a way to kind of tackle that, and maybe bring it up before the Oscars this year. But those are the 2024 Oscar noms, and of course, like we said, we'll be doing our picks when we get closer to the show. We'll do it the week before, and then of course we have our good old friendly competition that we do every year, where we do the points, and we'll see who gets the most points for what we think will win at the Oscars.
I got a list of every Best Picture winner right here that I could like easily.
I don't want to dive in. I don't want to dive in.
I'm just saying we've done this before where we've looked at past Best Picture winners.
We have. I just want to.
We've just never gone into the ones they were nominated against as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But that'll cover that category for right now. So stay tuned for our Oscar predictions and of course our review of even the Oscar show later in March. But right now, we're going to wrap up this show with our unique weekly segment. That's right, it's story time.
It's story time, where the podcast members tell their stories.
Thank you, Aaron Boyd.
Storytime.
Your voice lives on forever. In our memories and in the future.
That just sounded like Corky off Life Goes On.
I have no idea who that is. I don't know.
He had Down syndrome.
Oh. Well, I know that's not what she was going for.
But I'm just saying that's what you were going for.
I don't even know the character. I don't know what I was going for.
No, I'm just saying that
I
did
was
not
trying
sound
to
like
add
that. Sounded like
a
that's
lisp.
special needs.
Well,
to me.
that's more of a speech impediment thing. You
Yeah.
have a lisp too, but the other
A
part,
speech impediment.
yeah, the lisp is just the S's. You're adding a whole
You're adding
like
the
a whole
like
like
your
Elmer
tongue,
Fudd thing.
tongue
Yeah,
is missing.
yeah. You got like a whole.
Look, this is the same. I try to do a British accent and it turns into like Aussie and New
Yeah.
Zealander and all over the place. It's like, who the hell is that guy?
Nobody knows.
Like, I can speak American.
Like-
That's all
Yeah.
I got.
It's like the UK and Eastern Kentucky
It's
mixed together.
like, yeah, it's like, what is that? It's like, nobody speaks that accent.
It's Appalachian.
Appalachia.
That's right. They don't know it. Only my kind speak it where we come from. All right, let's move on to our unique weekly segment.
Let's do
Speaking of Appalachia, what are some places that you would like to visit?
Not Appalachia.
No, 100% Appalachia. It's
Hey,
a fun time.
Yeah.
I need to give a shout out, and I can't think of his name right now, but it was pretty awesome. And I mean, he's got millions of views on it.
Yeah.
It's on YouTube. Honestly, if you look up just Appalachia, I guarantee.
Oh,
you
yeah, I know what
this
you're talking
guy's video will pop up right
Yeah.
on top. But my dog is going nuts down
yeah.
there. What are you doing? She's like scratching the floor or something. Calm down. You're all right. She's got mad cow disease or something. She's got a lisp. All right. But no, it's crazy because he just drives through. He's got like a 2-parter. It's like 40 minutes long each part. And he just drives through Eastern Kentucky and through Appalachia, and he just talks to the people there and how run down and forgotten about it is. It used to be coal country, and he
I think he starts in Eastern Kentucky and he goes all the way through to West Virginia.
Or actually, I think it's the
And-
other way around.
Or-
I think he starts in West
yeah,
Virginia
yeah.
and comes through.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because the people he meets, good old traditional, just homegrown, hometown people, and salt of the earth, and it's just an awesome. Awesome tour through a part of the country that nobody knows.
I would say
exists.
when all the politicians and media and everything talk about marginalized people, they don't ever talk about those marginalized
That's right.
people.
Completely
So,
forgotten about,
Yeah.
completely overlooked.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody even talks about the middle of the country being the flyover states.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. This country is full of so many people that they don't have a voice of their own.
Yeah.
And they're not even necessarily out there looking for one. They're just living their life.
They just want to live.
And sometimes just
in the
shining a
holler.
spotlight on it. It's pretty incredible. Although that is not a place I'd like to visit.
No, not really.
There's parts that I would like to visit.
True. True. I mean, just for the historical
No,
aspect.
it's not a place that I've always wanted to visit.
No.
Like your,
The question.
like the question. Yeah.
yeah,
so
yeah. So what about you all?
Always wanted to visit.
I'm going to visit the place that I've always wanted to
Oh.
visit.
Nice.
In like 2 years.
Is this? I think I may know.
I don't
Can
know
I
if you do
guess?
or not. Go for it.
Go for it.
Is it the Holy Land?
No.
Well, then
I
you're
don't
not
care
right
about,
with
I don't
God.
care about that. No, I'm just kidding.
Just gotta know where is
I
it?
am going to do that, but no. My wife and I are planning a almost 2 week long trip to Iceland,
Nice.
Wow,
and
that's awesome.
so
Very nice.
it's the money's there, and it's just trying to get like that planned because you
Yeah.
have to.
Is it just you two
Yes.
leaving the kids behind?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
that's
Yeah.
that's amazing.
That's
Yeah.
legit.
So this sounds crazy, but Iceland it's like the 4th most expensive country in the world. So it's hard to like go there and not spend a ton of money like
Yeah.
trying to stay there and stay in hotels and things like that because it's an island. It's not there unless somebody brought it there. Hawaii is another place that's super expensive, but
Right.
Iceland's way worse. Gas is like $10 a gallon there. Groceries are ridiculous, but what we're planning to do is we're going to rent if it all works out the way that we're planning, we're going to rent a camper van, and we're going to travel around the entire country in the van.
Oh wow.
So we might stay in a hotel 1 or 2 nights.
So is Amelia up for this?
Yeah,
Roughing
it was her idea,
Wow.
actually.
All right.
We can save thousands of dollars by renting the camper van and living in that.
Honestly, that's something I would love to
You
do.
can
yeah.
camp almost anywhere you want. Now, it's not like they have campgrounds everywhere, Apparently, in 2015, they changed some laws to where you can't just camp anywhere you want. Used to be able, you could just pull up right in front of a waterfall and say, this is where we're sleeping tonight. Can't do that anymore. Now they have designated areas, but there's hundreds of them all the way around and in the interior of the country. So it's that's what we're planning to do. That's going to be like our 20th anniversary.
That's awesome
thing.
That's amazing.
But it's literally, they call it the Island of Ice and Fire. There's a volcano. There's waterfalls. There's black sand beaches. Most of the visuals in Death Stranding were from Iceland.
Okay.
And of course, I just think the Viking culture and
Nordic
religion, their beliefs and stuff, is fascinating. And Iceland is a huge.
Would that be Nordic?
It is. The Vikings settled
Nordics,
in Iceland along. Yeah. So we actually. It's kind of funny because we watched The Northman a couple of nights ago.
Yeah,
my wife didn't like the movie, but
I need to.
But the visuals are
it's filmed in Iceland, so it's
gorgeous.
It's everything, and the movie takes place in Iceland. That's where they end up going. So anyway, that's I think my brother-in-law took that trip with his wife. They stayed in and around like one city, the Reykjavik, which is like that's kind of like their main big population area.
I think that's the capital,
Reykjavik or something like that,
isn't it?
It might be, but they didn't really. I don't think they really traveled all the way around the island, and that's kind of we're going to be 10 days, probably 10 days in a van, driving around and staying at campgrounds, and it's just. It's going to be pretty cool. You can drive to all of the things. The van's 4-wheel drive. There's actually certain roads that are
made
you can only go on the roads if you have a 4-wheel drive to get to like the volcano and lava flow and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to rent one that's capable of getting. They call them F roads. So we'll be able to travel on some of the F roads and like literally go stand next to molten lava and crap like that.
It's awesome.
It's going to be cool.
Awesome.
So we're still saving some money. We priced it out, and
I think you can pull it off.
It's like we had some that we're planning on using to do that, and then when we started pricing it out, it was like we better wait like another year and save.
Yeah.
So we're looking at 2025 to try to do that.
Holy crap.
I've always wanted to go, and now we're going to go. It's going to be a huge.
It's a good way to celebrate.
It's going to be
year
a huge
20.
trip. I probably will get to go to the Holy Land with church. They do things like that every year or two.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to be able to sign, but I think
a little dangerous right now.
This trip is going to be a big expense. So some of the other stuff will have to wait. But we usually we go to Gatlinburg or Florida.
I know.
And so
There's
it's not
nothing
like
wrong with those.
Yeah, but it's like if you haven't been anywhere, it's like I want to see the Grand Canyon. I've never been out west.
I've seen
but it's
the
like,
Grand Canyon.
dude, if I'm gonna go somewhere for our 20th anniversary,
to be big.
It's got to be epic.
Yeah.
And Iceland to me is one of the most epic places in the world. So
I think anytime you just talk going foreign, like there's so many places in America that are just absolutely gorgeous and worth like people I think often be like, well, I am in America and everything here. I'm like, no, you
haven't seen it.
There's freaking this country's huge.
When we went to
so much,
when we went to Lake
in
Superior, that was one of the most beautiful things, places that I have ever seen. I would go there again. It was affordable. It was an affordable trip. There's not a ton of stuff to do unless you really like to be outdoors, hiking and fishing and boating and all that kind of stuff. But going out west, I would love to do that. And I'm just like, we can.
You can do that some
another
time. And it's not as expensive because that is the beauty
Yeah.
of it being in America and you being in America.
It's a little bit easier to go because I would like to go out west and see. I've not seen the Grand Canyon. I would like to do that. Within America, Alaska is one I've always like. I would love to see Alaska.
Same.
We looked at
I
that.
don't care so much about Hawaii, to be honest.
I don't want. We didn't want to go there either.
It would be, I guess, a fun
Yeah.
thing, but it's not high on my list.
Yeah.
Like if I got the opportunity,
Go
I'm
see
not
where
gonna say
Lost
no,
was
but-
filmed and
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah.
that. But with Jurassic World, I think, or Jurassic Park, I think part of it was
Isla
filmed
Nublar,
in one of the Hawaiian islands. But believe it or not, like in Alaska, because we looked at that when we saw how much this Iceland trip was going to cost.
Yeah.
And it was like, there's one road that goes through Alaska that anybody can travel on. The rest of the roads are dirt or gravel.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are not accessible by regular vehicles. Like you got to pay for like tours and stuff to get to places. So it's really crazy. But like, yeah, if you went to Alaska, there's like up in Alaska, not Anchorage, like up into the wild,
actually
the
get to
wilderness.
see
Oh
the-
yeah,
the-
no, you can't drive there.
I'm going to Nome.
Nome,
Alaska.
Alaska.
Yeah.
All right, you got to build an igloo.
That's where Balto was at. I want to go see where Balto is from.
So I mean,
White
well, I would
Fang.
say most of the places you want to visit, Keith, are they here in America?
No, those were just two off the. Like, I would like to see the Grand Canyon, and as far as like Alaska has always been a place. Honestly, since Metal Gear Solid and those closing credits, I was like, I want to see Alaska.
That's a good one.
Young me, like I don't know why it just like. How old were like 1999? So 9 years old, maybe a little bit older by the time I actually. So yeah, I guess 10 or 11-year-old me was fascinated with Alaska and have been ever since. But yeah, I mean, as far as like because I actually do have like multiple places I would like to see if ever given the opportunity. And I mean, Iceland never really occurred to me, but I do like Viking mythology and such. So I mean, that is interesting.
I think New Zealand would be cool.
New
too.
Zealand would be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously,
yes.
Lord of the Rings.
I like New
hands
Zealand
down,
because of the beauty, but then for me, it's a lot of like just historical places. Like I'd love to go to Greece. I would love to go
Greece would be awesome.
to the UK. I would love to go. Actually, Japan is one I would like to visit too. Just for certain, like just related to other interest and historical aspects that just fascinate me as far as like history goes. The Holy Land would be one because I actually was talking to who was that a while ago where I was like, I'd love to do that, not right now, but that would be just for historical purposes there. So just to see a lot of things as far as like World War I and II related, like UK, Germany, and then of course, like I mentioned, Greece. I don't really care so much about Russia or France. I know a lot of people want to go to France, but I'm just like, so I guess for me, it would be UK, Greece, and Japan. I think are the bigger three on my list.
No, I think that's a good pick. It's funny because until you said Japan, I mean, as much as I enjoy games and a lot of their
not just
culture.
like I know like tech and anime are big interests of mine, but I actually enjoy like their feudal history too. Like I'd love to see some of like the temples and the
exactly.
So like
you can take a super train too.
Yeah,
they have the world's fastest train in Japan.
Bullet train.
Some of like the Shinto temples and stuff. I'm like that just like I mean obviously I'm not like, but it fascinates me. It would be nice to see.
My boring ones. I'm boring. I'm going with the tried and true. Just a lot of Europe.
Yeah.
Germany. I actually am kind of disappointed that it was 3-4 years ago. I think maybe even a little longer. I'm trying to think of. It was the 500th anniversary of the Reformation, and they did a trip.
That would be cool, though. That would be
to go to Germany, and the problem was, I mean, it was not only just expensive. It was like I just didn't have the money at the time. It really wasn't that bad. It was only like $3 or $4 grand, but for an overseas trip, and it was like for I think a week and a half, and everything was paid for, meals, travel, all that. I was like, it wasn't a bad trip in terms of money. I just at the time couldn't do it. But Germany, I'd love to go see. I not necessarily. I mean, Greece, that would be awesome. But mainly, I've always just had a thing.
Rome, I want to see. I want to
Rome.
go.
I would say Rome and Venice.
Yep.
I've always wanted to go to Venice.
Yep.
My sister and brother-in-law have actually been out there. They traveled through Italy. Chip and Wendy have traveled through Europe and most of Europe.
For me,
as well.
it's Europe and Japan basically.
And I mean, it's like those would be the biggest standouts. I would say, Venice and Germany. But also, I don't know. It's like the UK would be cool. I'd be all right with it, but I mean, more so like I'd rather go to like Scotland or or Ireland.
Part of Scotland is actually Scotland is part of the UK. Part of Ireland is
right.
Scotland
is the island, isn't it? Or is Ireland the island? No,
Ireland's an island because North Ireland's its own, and then
that's right.
Yeah,
and then it's not called South Ireland, but the southern half is part of the UK.
And then you've got Scotland. I'd like to go visit
Scotland
them.
Yard. Yeah, I would. I would be more interested in Ireland and Scotland more so than like Britain, but that's okay.
And then of course, I'd love to go check out those New Zealand. New Zealand would be cool.
Yeah.
I would love to go to actual like some of like the Holocaust museums and sites overseas. Not to be morbid, but more out of because I think things like that are good as a dose of reality. Like it's not like a morbid thing of I want to go see like Auschwitz. I would like to tour that, not because I'm just like, but just because I do think it's something that's sombering that can be a wake up call to people.
When we were up in Boston and they have
the Holocaust Museum.
The tributes, because I think it's good to have that dose of something that sombers you up sometimes, especially like not that any of us I think need that as desperately as other people, but when you see people online that deny the Holocaust ever happened, I'm like, yeah, please go to Auschwitz and tour it, and then tell me what you think afterwards. And you might still be ignorant enough to say it never happened, but you go see the horrors that they endured before you want to be like, oh, this is just all made up.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because I mean that's the thing; it can be a sobering thought when you are walking through, like you even mentioned, a lot of historical places. I mean, Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. That is one thing I'd like to see in Hawaii.
That one, that is actually a part of Hawaii. Like, I don't care about Hawaii itself.
And it was funny because Pastor Romer, if you're out there listening, which he's probably not, he kind of ribbed me one time because I wanted to go to New York specifically for the World Trade Center memorial. And it's like, for me, it's that, this sounds morbid, but that was our Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
And so it's like to see
of our generation, yeah.
I mean, and so that was the weird thing is it has such a lasting hold on my memory. That day I can remember everything about it because of what happened. And so it's like to go back and to visit that site be one reason I would want to go to New York, even though there's not very much now. To
give yourself that reminder, because I think that is part of why we are where we are in society, is so many people haven't kept up on their history and are ignorant of things in the past, that now like you see a lot of the same verbiage, a lot of the same like political ideas that caused problems in the past, that people are just like, no, this isn't the same at all, but it is.
It's weird that like, when that happened, and even years afterwards, there was the slogan, never forget.
Yeah.
It was everywhere.
Yeah.
Now, they want you to forget.
Yeah. Well, heck, we just 2 years ago celebrated the 20th anniversary, or not celebrated, but remembered the 20th anniversay. And it was to remember that slogan, never forget.
Yeah.
And you still have a few patriots that remember it, and they cherish it, and they do pass it on every 9/11. But and that with anything, Pearl Harbor, December 7th.
Yeah.
I mean,
but we're supposed to forget that too.
But that's
We're supposed to forget
you have
the Holocaust.
People who are continually trying to either rewrite history or forget it, so that we're doomed to repeat it. And unfortunately, I think those are the people who they don't seek any value in that. They maintain that claimed victimhood status, and they make it seem as if they're somehow oppressed situation is the culmination of everything that they've that all of those are symbols of. And so it's unfortunate, but I think like you said, to have a dose of that reality, to go out and touch some grass, and actually be confronted with the real horrors of what humanity can
we're
rot.
Complaining about stupid things like Apple or what decisions Sony's making.
Look, we joke all the time on here about first world problems.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's a beautiful thing that each week we can sit down as friends and complain and also enjoy movies. But
I wasn't trying to turn this into such a serious conversation.
But hey,
we went from like Iceland and this amazing dream scenario to
but to be fair, I think part of wanting to visit a lot of these wonderful places is steeped in actually getting to know and experience something that is not in your everyday common life.
Yeah,
I mean, because that's the thing. When you do wake up every single day and go to work, and look, there's nothing wrong with if that's all you can do. But if you have a chance to go out and experience something that is, completely outside of the norm, and it gives you a different experience on life,
to take you out of that bubble that you live in,
right?
Because we do. We live in our own world, but it's good, I think, to go out and get a reminder of reality and realize that the things that we experience day to day aren't, always what like other cultures and other people experience day to day, and to learn to know that, so that we aren't living in this bubble of this imaginary perfect world of if we just do everything like this, it all works out okay. It's like, no, that's not how the real world works.
And one thing you can experience every single week is the Red Moon Podcast live
Never forget
on Tuesday nights.
to tune in on Tuesday nights.
At 9 p.m. That's right.
Ooh.
That,
I haven't heard that voice in a long time.
Sling Blade, he
Talk
got
about
it
a
right.
movie that didn't get an Oscar.
It was
Sling Blade
nominated.
didn't get an Oscar.
He won for Best Actor, I think.
Billy Bob did?
I thought he did.
It was nominated, and I think he was too. I think
thought he
did.
won.
He has won an Oscar. So
yeah, maybe that
I
was
think
it.
it was for Sling Blade. I now bringing up
We
at the end
got
of the show, but I
don't
gotta
do it
know.
now. Let's do it. Let's do it for that show. The
well, we weren't
researcher
going
talked
that.
about.
We
I'm
weren't going
already-
that.
come on.
We weren't going that far back.
Oh, come on.
We were only doing like the last
I
decade.
forget that Billy Bob directed that.
It won. Let's see.
Oscar winner for Best Writing, screenplay based on material from previous,
and
also,
Best Actor in a Leading Role.
That's right.
Okay, so it did
He
win.
won. No,
Just not Best Picture.
He nominated. He was
Oh.
nominated.
He was nominated. He didn't win, but it did win
right.
the Best
The writing?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
There you have it. There you have it. Facts on the Red Moon Podcast.
Wow.
You can always hear the facts and opinions about movies
Oh, there it is.
on the Red Moon Podcast. He's gonna get
I'm gonna go every
he's gonna
single
get
one.
every single one of these in.
Yeah.
But if you want to reach out to us, you can like, share, subscribe on all of our social media pages. That's right there at the bottom of your screen. Yes, Red Moon Book on Facebook, Red Moon Tweet on X, and Red Moon Pics on Instagram. And of course, Red Moon Productions on YouTube and our newest edition on Rumble as well. Like, share, subscribe. We appreciate all the love that you give to us out there. There is that old-fashioned way, though.
Yeah.
Keith?
RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
Man, with none of that phlegm and all that winter cold is in your throat, and it sounds beautiful.
You serious, Clark?
I am. I'm very serious. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Until next time, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And
Share the load.
Game over, man.
oh my gosh, she's gonna keep going.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.